DC Housing Finance Agency is doing some really, really great things. Sometimes we don't even know the great things they're doing. So let's turn our attention to our first segment, sponsored by the DC Housing Finance Agency. Joining us now is Yolanda McCutchen, the DCHFA's Vice President, Director of Public Relations. Probably said the title wrong, and now Yolanda's going to let me have it. What's going on, Yolanda?
Definitely not going to have you have it. Thank you, Stacy. I'm really happy to be joining you on Win TV today.
It's good to see you. It's good to see that smile and those bright colors, that red. You look like you're doing great. So good to have you. Yolanda, tell us about the DC Housing Finance Agency.
So the DC Housing Finance Agency is one of the 50 HFAs in the country. All states have one, and DC, the District of Columbia, has its housing finance agency. And our mission is to service the needs of residents in Washington, D.C., their housing needs in particular. But we also have some community driven initiatives like the Scholarship Fund that I'm going to talk about today. But DCHFA's primary business is financing the development, rehabilitation, and renovation of rental housing that's marked at income levels typically between 30 to 50% of the area median income. And then also, too, we have a homeownership branch of the agency as well, single family programs. And that's focused on creating new homeowners in the city, first time home buyers. And then we also have programs for repeat home buyers. Our DC Open Doors program is open to both first time and repeat home buyers. And then we also have a program called DC for Me that's marketed and geared toward employees of government agencies that are independent agencies.
Mm, wow, it sounds like a lot. So, but one of the things you did mention, though, you talked about the scholarship fund, the Todd A. Lee Scholarship Fund. Could you provide an overview of that fund and what's the goal of it?
Yes. So Todd A. Lee was DCHFA's executive director and CEO from 2016 to 2020. In 2020, Todd passed away, and after his passing, the scholarship fund was launched as a way to continue and commemorate his legacy. During Todd's tenure, he was very committed to education in the district. He had a number of mentees. He was always looking at the next generation of leaders, trying to help cultivate them and mentor them. He spent a lot of time engaging junior staff members in the offices about their careers and also our interns. So, again, after his passing, we thought that the scholarship fund would be a great way to commemorate his memory and continue to extend his legacy. And the scholarship is for residents of DC or students who they have graduated from high school in DC, but a lot of the times when you go to school out of state, you may change your residency because it may be more beneficial for you in terms of tuition. But also, too, we're looking at, again, what one of his focuses, which was focusing on the next generation of leaders in the affordable housing industry and space.
And just to underscore, Yolanda, how has the scholarship fund impacted recipients and their families?
Well, definitely financially. As we know, the cost of education is pretty expensive and always increasing, um, especially going to school in a market like DC. It's benefited the students financially, but also in other ways with helping them to build their networks within the affordable housing industry. We don't simply just dispense the scholarship checks. We are helping to create a network with these students and cultivate what we call the Todd A. Lee Scholars. The scholars they have access to all of the employees and the board members at DCHFA in their areas of expertise in our multifamily division, the single family division, finance and communications. We also invite them to a number of events hosted by the agency, such as groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, but also some of our other industry events where we're involved so that they can start to meet people within the industry. DCHFA is very active within the housing industry in several organizations, such as DCBIA. So we include our students, those that are here locally, in those activities so that they can also broaden their network.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. And if you don't mind, just expand on that just a little bit. Why that part, broadening their, their connectivity, their outreach, everything. Why is that important?
It's important because, of course, you're learning in the classroom, but a lot of the learning and how to navigate within companies happens through relationships and one-on-one experiences. It's a way to transfer what you're learning in the classroom into real life, into the real world, and also just to learn what opportunities are out there. A lot of the times you may discover a career interest or a passion once you've been exposed to it, but without the exposure, that doesn't take place. And the housing industry and affordable housing industry, it's large, and there are a number of ways to be an active participant. And by networking and meeting people that are actively in the industry, our students are getting a chance to learn what all of those opportunities are.
Yeah, because it's not always just about what you know, but it's also who you know, right? Somehow we had this conversation. Misha Green, the managing editor of the Washington Informer, and of course Denise, the publisher, Denise Rolark Barnes. I think we had this conversation recently about what you know and who you know, which is more, uh, which is more important. But you got to have both. So, but what are the eligibility criteria for students applying for the scholarships?
So, first and foremost, being a DC resident or a former DC resident who graduated from high school in DC. The scholarship is open to undergraduate and graduate students. So, if you are an undergraduate student, you have to have completed your sophomore year before you can apply. With graduate students, you can be in your first year of graduate school. And then, because we are focusing on the housing industry, and we're the housing finance agency, we are targeting people that are majoring in real estate, which typically is only found at the graduate school level, but
Mhm.
finance majors, business majors are also eligible to apply as well. And sometimes these concentrations have different titles at different universities. So we try to make it expansive so that people looking at the eligibility requirements don't rule themselves out. So
Mm.
those are, the basic core requirements.
And the application process, the selection process, the how does that process work for the fund?
So the application process, there are two letters of recommendation that are required with the application submission. The application is submitted through DCHFA's website, dchfa.org, where you will find a page on the Todd A. Lee Scholarship with all of the guidelines there, and that's also where the application portal is housed. So once a student completes the application, submits it, they share the information. The recommendation letters are submitted separately. Um, those are uploaded. All of the scholarship materials are submitted. A transcript is also required as well. There is a committee within the agency that reviews all of the applications to determine if students have met the requirements. And once that has been determined, they're notified that they will be awarded the scholarship at that point. And then my team, the communications and public relations team, will then do a public announcement of all of the scholarship awardees.
Nice, nice. And I'm sure you and all of the leaders at the DC Housing Finance Agency, you it's not just about giving out the scholarships, but to look into or to find out how it worked out for the particular students. Is there a success story or maybe a couple um, from recipients that you could share?
Yes, we definitely have success stories, and we're always so excited to hear from our students. And we make a concerted effort to reach out to them, and that's another reason why we invite them to participate in activities so that we can stay in touch with them. But we've had students that were Todd A. Lee scholars that are currently now working in the industry. We have a student at DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development, a former student, initially went to DIMPED after graduating Georgetown. He's now working at a development firm, Dante's Partners. We have another student at Blue Sky Construction. One of our students was recently promoted to Director of Multifamily for Volunteers of America. So, in our short 4 year period, our students are already entering the industry and making their mark.
Wow. Um, Now you mentioned the short 4-year period. We know what happened throughout the world about 4 years ago, the pandemic. How did that affect the scholarship program and its fundraising efforts?
Well, we actually launched during the pandemic because Todd passed away in 2020.
Mhm.
So, right before he passed away in January. So, it's right before the pandemic was officially declared, a month or two later. So, I feel like because the world was still, it helped us to disseminate information about the scholarship. And we were able to do our first launch and award our first scholarship class all within 2020. People were not as active in moving around as much. And then also, to our industry friends and partners, we all had just experienced the loss of our former friend and colleague as well. And the scholarship is funded by the agency.
Nice. And how can individuals and organizations support or contribute to the Todd Lee Scholarship Fund?
So the way that individuals can help us with the scholarship fund is awareness, spreading the word about the scholarship fund. Although we've had several, this is going to be our fourth round of giving scholarships. We want to give even more scholarships. We want
Mm,
many students to know about this as possible. So even if students don't hear about it, you may know a student that meets these qualifications in your family or in your office, in your church, in any type of organization. So that's one of the ways that people can help us and support the scholarship, because we want as many students to become aware of this. Even if you're in your first year of college, you know, bookmark this as something to be aware of, because we launch the scholarship every year in April, and this year's deadline is May 31st. Another way to support the scholarship is when you do know of someone that's applying, help them with a recommendation letter, because they need recommendation letters of support as well.
mm. And it sounds like there are some further plans and goals that you guys have for the scholarship fund. Can you just clue us in on maybe one or two of those?
Yes, definitely the primary goal is to award more scholarships, continue to grow our network of scholars, because the scholars that were in that first group, as I mentioned, they're doing well, they're rising within the ranks. So we would love to see the point where those scholars are in a position where they are hiring interns from the scholarship pool.
Nice. And how important is it? We've been talking this morning, Yolanda McCutchen, the DC Housing and Finance Agency. How important is it for organizations like DC Housing Finance Agency to support educational opportunities for students in the community?
It's extremely important. The Housing Finance Agency, housing is in our name. That's our mission. We are focused on the housing needs and goals for our residents in the city. But just like housing, education is foundational. It provides stability, it's the door to opportunity. It can be life changing, just like home ownership. So we see them as being hand in hand in the advancement of our residents.
Nice. And is there anything, Yolanda, that perhaps we have not covered that you want to make sure that folks know, not just about the scholarship, certainly about the scholarship, but about DC Housing Finance Agency?
Well, the Housing Finance Agency, again, is there to service the housing needs of the district's residents. We have a number of programs for homeownership, all available on our website. The DC Open Doors program has been around for 10 years, celebrated the 10th year anniversary last year. This is actually DCHFA's 45th year of service here in the district. We also have the program called DC for Me. that's targeted toward government employees that work for independent agencies like DCHFA. DCHFA is an independent agency, so some of the other programs that are out there don't apply, but there are several independent agencies there in the city where people can take advantage of this. And of course, we want more and more DC residents to become homeowners, or people that are working for a DC government that may not be living in the city. That's a avenue to home ownership that they could possibly pursue. The DC for Me program.
Wow. Is there a website or something that folks can go to and get this information?
Yes, dchfa.org. So for the homeownership programs, the dchfa.org, there's a homeownership tab. You can find program information for DC Open Doors and DC for Me located there. We have an events calendar also available that tells you about homeownership events where you can learn more in depth about these programs in the city. Next month is June, and June is National Homeownership Month. So the agency will be sponsoring several events that we hopefully will come back and share more information on those as we're putting those events together. And then, of course, the information for the Todd A. Lee Scholarship is on our website. It's located in the About tab. There's a scholarship page there. There's also a page on a tribute to Todd Lee just to learn more about his life and legacy here in DC. And also, there we have a scroll on the homepage that lists upcoming events, and the scholarship deadline is there as a reminder, and it's also a direct link to the scholarship application.
Wow. Well, chock full of information is Yolanda McCutchen as she brings it to us today on Win TV. Let's talk. We appreciate from the DC Housing Finance Agency. Thanks for joining us, and you make sure that you continue to have a great day and an even better weekend. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
Where did you come to get all